one behind us.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Subaru, featuring the 2024 Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness, with off-road capability and 3 inches of ground clearance designed for adventurers. Learn more at subaru.com/wilderness.
This is CPR News at KRCC. I'm Mike Lamb. University of Colorado
muddy
Health
tire.
will pay a $23 million settlement over allegations of fraudulently billing federal health programs. CPR Health reporter John Daly.
A settlement agreement resolves allegations UC Health used automatic coding for emergency department visits to fraudulently bill a pair of federal programs, Medicare and TRICARE. The government alleged its hospitals automatically coded claims for ER visits using a higher level of care code than warranted, which resulted in overpayment over a nearly 4-year period. The UC Health spokesman says it denies the allegations and agreed to the deal to avoid potentially lengthy and costly litigation.
If it denied it yet it agreed to it, that means it's guilty.
$3.9 million in proceeds of the civil settlement. I'm John Daly, CPR News.
A lot of students
Yeah, he got
testified
sued.
before the State Board of Education Wednesday for more discussion about climate
Like Wells
change
Fargo
and
did.
science standards. CPR Senate Rundin.
Academic standards guide what students learn in classrooms. This year, the board is updating science standards. Students with the advocacy group Good Trouble say there are only 2 references to climate change in K-12.
That guy hasn't called me about that settlement or whatever.
Schools and
Thing was
adults
supposed to be. Someone call him, ask him what's going on with that.
Rundin, CPR News.
Governor Jerry
Anything?
Fuller says he will fight to keep U.S. Space Command in Colorado. That comes amid speculation that the next presidential administration could try again to move the headquarters to Alabama.
Our military preparedness is maximized by keeping.
Why do they want to move the
Colorado
space
Springs
program
versus
to Montana
unseating
or
and trying to
Alabama
move them
when
to
it's been in
another
Colorado
location,
all this time?
which would make America weaker and worsen our readiness.
Space Command has been at Peterson Space Force Base in Colorado Springs since it was
Maybe
created in
somebody got one of those
1985.
trespassing clauses. Just 'cause I'm curious on how long he is here.
One in this town. You and I
It's
learned
12
recently
o'clock.
that the man who could become the nation's top prosecutor.
It's about 12:02 when we got here. Right around 12 o'clock. Takes Randy about seems like we go to the place and get alcohol every other week. He must have somebody helping him drink it. And get 4 more drinks. Some mouthwash. More mouthwash. More salt. I got plenty of salt at home though. Oops. Three. 12.
No, those sales have skyrocketed for weight loss, which is good for the companies that make weight loss drugs, but some also make life-saving insulin, and they're cutting back, which is adding to the cost of this expensive life-saving drug. Enter Eric Moyle. He's executive director of the nonprofit Project Insulin in the studio with me. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
How'd you get into this? Because you are not a diabetic. Doesn't sound like you have family with diabetes, but a friend?
So my partner has type 1 diabetes, and she told me about how expensive insulin is, and I learned that the patents had expired for the insulins that she's using. Generally, when patents expire, generics come into the market, and the price come down quite drastically, but for some reason that hadn't happened with insulin, so
Okay,
that
so
was the trigger point.
you who know nothing about making what's called a biosimilar, which is something that's similar to insulin, start a nonprofit to make biosimilar insulin. How did you do that?
So first, research. My background's in fundraising. I saw the issue and was curious why it was happening. So I looked into it, and 90% of the U.S. insulin is made by food manufacturers, and they still own that large of a market share, even though the patents have expired. So when I looked into it, it wasn't that insulin is expensive because of new scientific advancements. Insulin is expensive because there aren't options. That means this is a money problem. And as a professional fundraiser, I can solve a money problem.
Okay, and you raised some money a little bit to get started. I got the professional, medical people involved. But let's talk about the cost. Because I'm sure people are thinking, okay, well, President Biden reduced the cost to seniors at something like $35 a month. But then everybody else has insurance, right? And doesn't insurance cover it?
With insurance, it's still about, on average, $100 per vial. The average person needs between 2 to 4 vials per month. So that adds up to $5,400 a year just on insulin. On top of that, there are people who don't have insurance or they're underinsured. And so that leads to about 1.3 million Americans rationing their monthly insulin supply.
We've done some heartbreaking stories about this. A mother who discovered that her young adult son was rationing his because he just didn't have enough cash, didn't want to bother her, and he died. This is a serious disease. How do you go through this process of coming up with a biosimilar? I mean, I'm imagining there's all sorts of regulations and things like that you have to go through. You're nodding.
So there is a ton of regulation, but it almost makes it easier because there's a roadmap. And because, like I said, insulin's been around for so long that these patents have expired, many contract organizations know how to make it already. So what we're doing is we're hiring a contract research organization. They will do the early drug development, creating the insulin itself and doing some early testing. And then we just kind of go through the FDA's step-by-step process.
And what do you hope to charge?
It plus another $5 to $10 for our open vial. We would be sustainable because that would cover all of our expenses.
Yeah. There's a lot of stereotypes and misinformation about diabetes. Some people think that it is solely lifestyle. It's not in most cases that at all. It's just something's not working properly. And you had an incident where with your partner, suddenly she's on the sidewalk.
Yeah, it was actually one of our first few dates. We were walking home from dinner and she was a little loopy and we had a couple of drinks, so you can't tell necessarily. But then she started swerving and, it was only a couple of drinks. So thankfully, it wasn't a collapse, but she started falling down right as we finished crossing the street. So I caught her and we sat down. I'll never forget this. We sat down like on the curb of the sidewalk on a four-way intersection at 11:30 at night. And I, went into her purse and picked up some jelly beans and put it in her mouth in order to help her. So she was having a low blood sugar episode.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Yeah.
What's your thinking about whether or not you're going to succeed? I mean, get through this process.
It's such a long process, but to me, it's such a simple issue. It's not technically complicated. It is just, can we keep on going? Like, it's a stamina issue, I guess. And no one has said no. People have said you're crazy or that, like, this is a very large undertaking.
And you're going against really big companies who might not be happy about what you're doing.
At first, I think that was a bigger worry and something that we were hesitant about. But at this point, I don't think that's going to be as big of an issue. All three of the organizations that do insulin, Novo Nordisk, Eli Lilly, and Sanofi, they each... weight loss. Eli Lilly announced supply chain shortages in early 24, and Novo Nordisk is discontinuing 24, so I don't think they're as interested in insulin.
All the best, and please get back to us, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Did I mention again that it's a non-profit? And
in Utah. Hello, human kindness.
Hello, my name is Sean Ramaswamy.
And I'm Noel King.
We make a sometimes funny, sometimes serious daily news show. It's called Today Explained. It's from Vox.
We deliver the context you need to get your head around the news.
All the news, political, art, tech, economy, environment.
And if you don't like it, you get your money back. Just kidding. It's free. It's Today Explained.
That's at 12:30 here on CPR News and KRCC.
Your vehicle, running or not, can support news and music on Colorado Public Radio. As long as you have the title, you can donate it to CPR. It's quick and hassle-free. Get started at cpr.org/support.
The Lookout is Colorado Public Radio's free daily newsletter. Get the latest Colorado news from CPR and other sources around the region delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up at cpr.org.
Funding for Here and Now comes from Boathouse, committed to working with the C-suite to bring a company's strategy to life. Using AI, Boathouse seeks to benchmark a company's narrative in the marketplace and reshape the story through advertising, social media, and communications. BoatHouseInc.com.
It's Here and now to the Middle East, grappling with what the second Trump administration will mean there. Aaron David Miller is Senior Fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, former Deputy Special Middle East Coordinator at the State Department, a go-to guy. Aaron, Donald Trump nominated former Arkansas Governor and Pastor Mike Huckabee as ambassador to Israel. Huckabee opposes a two-state solution, so where do you think we are in this moment?
Yeah, Trump 1.0 had three basic assumptions on which their policy was based. Number one, create a very close relationship with an Israeli prime minister. Number two, exert maximum pressure on Iran. And number three, establish strategic relations with both the Saudis and the Emirates. I suggest these three assumptions, they became realities actually, and were explained to me by Jared Kushner in 2018, the president's son-in-law. I think these will be basically the foundation elements of the Trump administration's policy going forward. But I caution that Trump is predictably unpredictable. And unlike most of the Republican Democratic secretaries of state that I worked for and their presidents, Trump has no clear conception of what I would describe as the national interest.